Hey guys, welcome back to another Linux crash course, and in this video we're going to be looking at the rsync command, a powerful tool for syncing files locally and remotely. Whether you are backing up your system or transferring files across machines, rsync is fast, efficient and smart, and in this episode we're going to be breaking it down step by step. And here I've got two open tabs here for server 1 here and server 2 right here. So before we get started, we need to make sure of two main things. The first one is we need to make sure we've got remote SSH access to the server we are going to be transferring to, if you are going to do it across servers or machines. Otherwise, if you're only going to do it on the single machine, you just need to make sure that rsync is installed on that machine. And the way you can confirm if it's installed or not, you just need to type command, then space -v space the command, which is rsync, like that, and press enter. If you see that, meaning the actual tool is installed. Otherwise, if it's not installed on your machine, you can either use any of your packet managers. For example, if you're using yum, for example, or if you're using dnf, it's the same thing. You just need to say install, then here you need to write rsync to install. So here's either you use yum or you use dnf. You cannot use both, you can only use one depending on your packet manager. So once you have it installed, we can now go ahead and get started with learning the basic syntax for rsync. So rsync, we can use it either transferring or receiving the data from a remote server, and we're going to be breaking that down as well. Getting to the basic syntax, you will notice that you need to write rsync, then you have options, of which we're going to cover options. You have an option, then you have the source. So this is where the data is, where it's stored. So this destination, this is just where we are going to transfer the information. So this is where the data is going to be stored. So if we go with a basic syntax here, we can have an option, of which our first option that we're going to learn is recursive. So the -r, this just helps us to transfer entire directories and subdirectories in that directory. So if we, for example, I'm transferring a specific directory, whatever subdirectories are in that directory, I'm going to transfer everything. So that's what the R is about. Then here we learned that we need to have a source. So here I'm just going to quickly show you the files we're going to be transferring. So we're going to be working with these rows here. So I'll use the LL, of which the LL is just the same thing as ls-l, like that. So it's just for long list. So like that, and press enter. This is the files that are in that directory that we are going to be working with. So again, I'll bring back the command, which is rsync, like that. Then here we're going to use the -r option. Then here we need to specify what we're going to be transferring. So in this case, since I'm in the same working directory as the rows, I can just write rows. Then here I want to specify the destination. Since the destination here is a separate server, I need to specify the user, of which the user is that at IP. I like using the IP instead of a DNS name because this never gives any issues. .16, like that. Then here we need to add a colon. Then now we can specify where we want to store the backed up file or the transferred file. So in this case, I'll do it in home/kuba so that you can see it here. So as you can see, if I do pwd, so this is where we want to be storing that directory that we're going to be copying. Okay, so now from here, since I have that, if I run this now, it should transfer that. But before you do anything like that, you need to test what the output is going to be. So here after the R, you need to do a space, then you can just do a --dry and then -run. So this just tests the command and it shows you the output of what it's going to be doing. In case the output is something that you never wanted, it would have not run the actual real command. So here I just need to make sure I enter the password for that user, which is this user here for that said server where we're transferring the files to. So here, if I enter the password for that user, we should be able to see that. So the command has run, but we're not seeing any output here, as you can see, but it is running. And also if we do an ls here, see there's nothing that has happened. So let me just quickly explain that to you. So this command, yes, did run, but we are not seeing any output because we've not told the command that we want to see the output of what's going on. So to do that, we need to go back here and we need to specify another option, which is the v, which is verbose. This just helps that the command gives us an output of what is really happening. So if I press enter now and enter again the password, you'll notice that here it's showing us these are the files it's transferring. So this is a directory and it's files here, as you can see. And as you can see here at the bottom, it shows that it's a dry run, meaning it's just showing us what it would have done if we didn't add the dry run. So this is the files it was going to send. So now here, if we remove that dry run like that, now we are confident of what is going to happen. If I press enter now and enter my password again, and by the end of the video I'm going to show you how you can set it up that it doesn't ask you for a user password like this. So if I press enter, so now it has ran here, as you can see. Now if we do an ls on our other machine, you notice that we have that rows. And if I do a long list, of which this long list is just the same thing as typing ls, like I said, -l, and then specifying rows like that, and as you can see we have the same output. So now here we have the same files, which is here and here, but you will notice one thing though. So right now here you see on the date is showing our current day, which is today, but the original file, as you can see, was for May 29th, and this one is saying July 21st. So what is happening is it did copy the full files, but it didn't copy over the metadata and other parameters. So what we can do about that is, instead of doing it like that, I'll clear my screen quickly. I'll bring back the command that we used. So here, instead of doing the -r here, what we can do is we can remove that -r and add an A instead. So the A is archive mode, and this makes sure that it copies over everything, which is the file permissions, the timestamp, like all the metadata that this file has, so to be an exact copy. So now you'll notice that now if I press enter and enter again my user password for that server, so now that is done. If I go back here and run the same command again, you will notice that now it says May 29th compared to what that was there. This is very important to understand. So if you just want to copy the actual file without its metadata like timestamp, modification time, then you can just use the recursive. But if you want it to be exactly the same, for example, if I was transferring logs from one server to another server, I would want to make sure that everything is the same. And as you can see, you can use the -a, which also combines things like recursive. That's why you saw we didn't have to add the -r there. It combines the -l, the -p, -t, -g, -o, and -d. So all these are combined in the -a option. If you saw, there's one file here that has got an issue, of which I'm going to show it to you just now. So here, if I go to my roles again, you will notice that this is not an ideal, or this is not a real YAML file. As you can see, there's $L there. So let's say I was to rename this file, then here I'm going to rename it, which is move. We have our rows.yaml. I want to rename it to the same rows but with the correct YAML. Press enter. This file has been renamed. So if I was to bring back the same command that we used here and run it now, you will see it will run again. I enter my user password, so the file has been transferred. But now if we were to check in here in the rows, you will notice that we now have two duplicate files. We have that first file and the second file. So what you need to understand is, by default, the rsync command does not remove any file. Instead, it creates a file that is on the source, that is not on the target machine. So as you can see now, we do not have a direct mirror or a direct sync here, because this file, we did rename this to that. So now what you need to do instead is, this is where now the other tag comes in. So if we wanted to remove the YAML with a $L, we can use the following command. So the same one here, just after the -av, we need to do a --delete. Okay, and before you run any command like this, you need to make sure you add the --dry dash run. Okay, this is very important because it just makes sure that you do not delete files that you did not intend to do. So if I press enter now, you will notice that here is showing us that it's deleting this file here. So what this tag allows us to do is it deletes any files that are not in the source directory. So for example, in here, this YAML with a double L is not in our directory, which is a rows directory, because we did rename it. So what it's going to do is it's going to remove it from the target machine. So here, if I remove the dry run like that and press enter, again I just need to enter my user password. So now that file has been deleted. If I was to go ahead and run the command again, you will notice that we now have the rows.yaml instead of a rows.yaml with a double L. So again, we've got other options as well, which are also very important, especially if you're transferring data across multiple servers. So I'll remove the -- delete here. And also I just want you to see the difference here. I'll do a dry run again, dry dash run. I want you to see the difference. So if I press enter now, so here you'll notice this is the bytes per second that was transferred. And also if I run the same command with our new option here, which is a -z, so the -z is just for compression. So this just compresses the files as they are being transferred. This is to make it that you use less bandwidth, and also it makes it that the file transfers across multiple servers is seamlessly. So if I was to press enter now and do the same here, you'll notice that this time around the data that was sent is more per second than the uncompressed data, as you can see here. So this is also one other important thing that you also need to consider. So you can use the -z, especially if you're transferring across multiple servers. This just helps with bandwidth, and it helps to compress the files so that they can easily be transferred. And also one of the other important tags that you also need to understand is this one, where it allows you to move all the files from one source destination to the final destination. So for example, if this server here, we wanted to move all the file contents of the rows into these rows here on our backup server here, this is the way we can do that. So I'll bring back our command here, and here what we want to do is we want to remove the -- delete, and we want to replace that with a -- remove -source -files, like that. So as you can see, that tag says it all, -- remove -source -files. So it's going to remove all the files in here, and it's going to place them in the target directory or path that we specified. So again, it is very important that for such commands you use the -- dry -run. Okay, if you press enter, and as you can see, these are the files that is going to be moving from that directory. So what we can do now here is, okay, we remove our dry run. If we press enter now, again our system password ls here for rows, you'll notice that that is now empty because it has moved these files. Once the files have been moved, it deletes them from that directory. So now here, if I do an ls again, if I do that for our rows, you'll notice that this one has the proper files, and this side here we do not have any of those files because we've used this tag here to move that source directory to our destination directory, which is on this other server. And like I said at the beginning of the video, instead of you adding your password every time you are trying to transfer files, this is the best way you can do it. So we can use SSH keys to achieve just that. So here the first thing that you want to do is you need to run this command where it says your email there, you change it to whatever your email is. You want to press enter. This will start generating the keys. So from here, as you can see, enter file, you can just press enter. Then here, if you already have keys, it will ask you to overwrite, so I'll just say yes. Then here to ask you to enter a passphrase, for example. So you can enter whatever you want here. Okay, again you need to repeat that. okay, this will generate that key. As you can see here, we've got a key. So now here what we need to do is we need to copy over that key to our other server, of which we just need to type in ssh dash copy dash id. Then here we need to specify a user. So here this is where it's going. So I'll specify my user there and its IP address like that, .1.16. okay, I can press enter, and as you can see I need to enter again my user password. So we'll just do that, press enter, and that has copied over our SSH key. So here we now should be able to transfer files without being asked for a password. So now I'll utilize the command that we did run here. So if I press enter now, you'll notice that it's asking me to enter a passphrase. So again, this is if you did enter a passphrase. Otherwise, if you didn't do any passphrase, to just go ahead and just do the transfer. So I did enter a passphrase here. So if I press enter, now I can easily transfer without using my actual password but entering the passphrase. So if I was to do it again now, where I generate the key without entering the passphrase, so here I want to override it, yes, passphrase, no passphrase, okay, then here I'll copy over that key again, okay. So now that I've done that without the pass key, if I press enter now, you'll notice it just runs, and again this is it not asking me for a password. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and follow the channel for more tips like this. See you in the next video.